All right, hello everyone. So today's video we're going to actually talk about making characters bounce off the side of the screen. So imagine like a game, think of like a Frogger game, something like that, where you're going to have a sprite that's going to move across the screen, hit the edge, and then come back and move the other direction. Or maybe you want it to go in this direction and continue, hit the edge, kind of go off the screen, and then go to the other side and keep moving in a motion like this. So there's a couple different ways. I'll show you the first way. Then we're just going to have the character hit this edge, bounce off that edge, and then go back this direction. So we're going to go to events, and we're going to put this on the green flag, because what we want to do is when we start the game, we're just going to have the green flag be our start button, and the character is going to start moving. It's going to hit the edge and then move back to this direction. Okay, so we're going to need a control or a forever, because we want that to occur the entire time. And then we're going to have it do move, 10 sprite, 10 steps. And then we're going to have, there's a block called if on edge bounce. And basically what that means is when it touches the edge, it's going to bounce off that and go the opposite direction that it was moving. Now there is going to be a problem with this current setup, but I'll kind of first show you this and you can kind of see. So see, now it moves, hits the edge, and it comes back to the other direction. And you can adjust how fast that moves just by changing the steps. So we can make it 5 steps instead of 10, or whatever we wanted it to be. But notice that it is moving upside down here every time it hits it, because it's changing the rotation. And so we can actually affect that. Oops, so let's keep that going here. All right, so we're going to click on the direction right here, and we can actually lock the rotation to be left and right, so it's not going to rotate. And we could, if we wanted to, lock the rotation completely, and what that will do is then it's just going to keep bouncing like this, go forwards and backwards. Or if we did want it to move and point in the different direction, it can do this. So that's just from locking the rotation style. And you can do that this way as well. You could set the rotation style and put that up here as well. It's completely up to you. It just depends on how you want your program to operate that way. So this will allow the program to just have your character bounce on edge, move the other direction, and do that. Okay, so that's the first way to do this. The other way to do this is we're going to drag a green flag out here again. And I'm going to move the character over to here. Actually, I'm going to move it over to this side. Right here. Okay. And what that is we're going to use the glides. So you have a glide like this, and it's, as discussed in other videos, this XY location is actually wherever the character is located. So I have the character moving to this spot here. Okay, and it's going to move across. Now what I want it to do is hit the edge of the screen, and maybe what I want to do is actually make sure it does actually hit the edge of the screen. So I'm going to drag this off and drag a new one on here. Okay, so when I do this, if I did this correctly, I can move the character back here. And if I hit the screen, oh, let's get rid of this one. If I hit this, it's going to hit the edge, and it's just going to stop there because it reached its location. Now what we want to do is we are going to put a forever around this. Okay, and we'll keep that glide inside. But now what we want to do, instead of bouncing on the edge, what we want to do is actually check to see if it actually touches the edge. So we're going to actually use an if. Okay, and then we're going to use the sensings here. And notice you have a touching pointer, things like that, but you also have a touching the edge. And you can drag this over here. And so it's going to end up touching the edge. And when it does that, what we want it to do is we want it to go to this spot here. And I'm going to go up here and use the motion and drag out now a go to and an XY location. Okay, and so what will happen is when it moves across here, it's going to hit the edge, and then it's going to go to this spot. Okay, all right, so let's actually give this a try here. Now one thing that you could do, if you notice, these numbers don't match at all. If you want to keep it on the exact same plane and move it straight across, we're going to want to make sure that these Y locations are the same. So I'm just going to make this 11 just to keep it on the same And what that will mean, it will always stay on the Y plane, okay, or on the Y location. And we'll always move across that. Now this, obviously, the X location is here, and the X location for here is right here. So if I hit this, if I did this correctly, it's now going to do that. Now this, and this looks really fast, the way to change this is to actually change the glide, how long it's going to glide across the screen instead of the steps. And so now if I wanted that to move, even slower, instead of 2 seconds to glide to that location, I could make it 3. And it would eventually slow down where it's moving slower. And if you notice, what happens is it touches the edge and then it moves to here. And it just continually does that. So it's a really effective way to have your character, for a Frogger game, something like that. If you want to give the illusion that it's going to this spot and wrapping around to over here, you could do that. The one thing you do have to be careful of when you do something like this is you can't interfere with this if. So for example, if I have my character over here and I actually made the go to here, it's going to end up touching the edge. And I'll just use this as an example. So let's drag this out here and put the go to in. So now this is a different go to location. See, it's actually 10, even if I made this 11 right here. Okay, this is 10 increments over to the side here, and it's touching the edge. So now let me drag this off of here and get it to go ahead and move. What's going to end up happening is it's gliding for 3 seconds across to this location. Once it's touching the edge, it's going to go to this location. But what's going to end up happening is now that it's touching the edge continually, it will not move. And you will think that your program is broken. Really all that's happening is it's in this loop of touching the edge, touching the edge, touching the edge, and not moving. And that's really something that you kind of want to be aware of. That if that happens, it could be just stuck in the loop, and that's why the character's not moving. So let's go ahead and just show you that real quick. Oh, I didn't put it over far enough. Let's say... Oops. So let's drag this one over. And who knows, maybe Scratch fixed that part, and that would be awesome if that's the case. Oh. Well, there you go. I guess because this is in the forever, you won't have that issue. Very nice. Okay, so anyways, that's how you make the character move. I guess I learned something new today. It will not do that. Just be aware of that. If it does touch the edge, maybe it's the other way too, and the bounce on edge. If it is touching the edge and it gets locked in one location, it's because it's touching that edge and it's just is locked in. But apparently, I learned something new today, which is a good thing. So this is how you make your character move across the screen. You can either do it this way or the other way where I showed you where you do the if on edge bounce. Totally. Both work great, just depends on which way you want the character to move across the screen. Hopefully this helps you with your Scratch program, and good luck in learning Scratch.